Thank you for getting connected tonight, and I'm looking forward to getting started with the session tonight, where we're going to learn a little bit more about the Parexel Academy program called the Postgraduate Certificate in Clinical Trial Management. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what the program is about, the contents, the trainers, and then of course we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of the program, including a bit of a career perspective, so what we can do if you take this course or when you decide to go into the clinical research. So my name is Luciana. Maybe some of you have already seen my face on the website of the Parexel Academy, and I'm going to be your host tonight for this webinar. And I started working here at the Academy last year, and I am now in charge of the International Postgraduate Program. In particular, this Europe-based program that we have that's called the Postgraduate Certificate in Clinical Trial Management. Before we get started, I just wanted to encourage you to send any questions you might have using the chat tool in the webinar platform. And you can see that probably on the right side of your screen, there's a little window. So if you have any questions, you can type it in. And then we're going to have time to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. And in case I don't get to answer a question tonight because we're running out of time, I will answer them by email in the next few days. So to get officially started now, this is the agenda of what we're going to be talking about this evening. And of course, I'm going to give you information about the program. But before that, we're going to have a short overview about clinical research, including the 4 phases of clinical studies and how clinical trials are set up. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Parexel International and the Parexel Academy. And then, of course, we're going to have information about the program that you have registered to hear about. And that's going to include a short overview. We're also going to be talking a bit more in depth about the modules and the trainers that you would have if you joined the training, and also the calendar, and finally the career opportunities that you will find later on if you decide to go in this path. So we're going to get started now with clinical research. So what is it after all? And before I start, I just want to make clear that I usually like to have this introduction about clinical research because for some people, this might be a completely new field. So it can be that some of you already know exactly what you want to do, why do you want to go into this industry, but for many of you, it might be completely a blur and you don't exactly know what is clinical research, and maybe you heard from someone that is a good field to work or that might be interesting for you. So that's why I always like to start just giving a very basic overview of what clinical research is and what the studies are, so that you can already understand a bit better if you're not familiar with the industry yet, so that you can understand that a little bit better. And as we can see here in the screen, we have some basic definitions about clinical research. And the first one of them is what is actually meant as clinical research. And it is the development of new diagnostics and treatment methods through the testing of new biological materials and treatment options. And this involves also testing new drugs in humans to develop new products for the market. Then the clinical studies, or also the clinical trials, are one form of clinical research. It's one method of developing these products or these medications. They are investigations to find out whether a drug, biological product, or medical device is safe and effective through tests and monitoring in humans. And then the last concept we have is a contract research organization, which is also called a CRO in the industry. And this is a company contracted to carry out these studies, these clinical trials. And this is exactly where Parexel belongs. Parexel is a CRO, and it is in charge of developing these clinical studies for other companies or other partners. Most of these clinical trials are sponsored and initiated by small and large pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical industry can delegate some or any clinical research tasks to the contract research organizations, which then on their turn carry out the tasks on behalf of the pharmaceutical company. And of course, there are also other clinical trials that are initiated by single investigators and are conducted at a university or a smaller research institution without any support from the pharmaceutical industry. So these specific studies or these specific trials are called investigator-initiated trials. And when we talk about clinical studies, this is something that's very much the basics. You're going to see, if you go into this area, you're going to hear a lot about the phases of these studies. And that is because each study is always developed through a number of different phases. And we have a very precise definition of each one of these phases. And that's what we're going to talk a bit about now. A CRO like Parexel is involved in most part of this process, so from phase 1 until phase 4. These are normally the phases through which a study is organized, so from 1 to 4. And we're just going to go through each one of them quickly now. The phase 1 is designed to establish the effects of a new drug in humans. It is usually conducted in small populations of healthy volunteers or patients to specifically determine a drug's toxicity, absorption, distribution, and metabolism. And then we have phase 2, where a drug is tested for safety and efficacy in a slightly larger population of individuals who suffer from the disease or the condition for which the drug is being developed. Then we're going to have phase 3, which is when the testing of a drug is conducted on large populations of afflicted patients. Usually the tests compare the new drug with the standard therapy currently being used or available at the market at the moment. And then finally, phase 4 starts after a drug has already been approved by the local health authorities, so it's the last step. It is conducted to compare the drug to a competitor, explore additional patient populations, or to further study any adverse events. So now that we know a little bit about clinical research and how the studies are set up, I would like to have a look at the general picture of the pharma industry. And when we look at that these days, we can see that Parexel is one of the top 5 CROs currently in the market. And Parexel is involved with all of these phases of the clinical studies, from phase 1 until phase 4, when a medication is finally put in the market. So it's really comprehensive and an international company. And as you can see here in this slide, it has offices spread all around the globe. So here you can see some of our numbers where we have our offices and how many workers are in each one of the continents that we are active. And some more facts about the company. Parexel has been operating in the business for over 30 years, so it's a very well-established company in the market, and it has a reported revenue of over $2 billion. It currently supports more than 7,400 clinical trials, and it is actually developing over 98% of the top 200 drugs that are on the market today. So we can see it's a company that is actually involved in almost all that's available at the market today. So that speaks of the growth and the size of Parexel. And we can see, of course, that this is a very growing market. There's a need there for new devices, for new medication. And because of this growth is precisely why the Parexel Academy was founded. And this was in 2001. The idea or the main objective of the Academy was to become the leading provider of training in the field of clinical research. And since then, the Academy has continued to expand its program portfolio and global reach. So the idea was to develop this training institution that is connected to a big company like Parexel. So the Academy is actually a department inside Parexel. And the idea was that this department could carry out these trainings to better prepare people to enter in the market of clinical research. And Based on that, the main goals that we have at the Academy is to contribute to the creation of a highly qualified global talent pipeline, and of course support Parexel's growth and enhance clinical research outcomes. And lately we have also been seeing the trend that the talent that we create here at the Academy not only support Parexel's needs for the market, but also other CROs or other companies. And since the first program in 2002, the Academy has experienced a lot of growth around the world. Our training programs have been offered in several countries and different continents, and over 4,300 participants and graduates have taken part in one of our educational offers. And it's important to mention, as I had just said before, that the people who are trained at Parexel, they not only work at Parexel, but they also go to a lot of other companies, pharma companies or other CROs. So they're able to develop a very diverse career path in other companies as well, in other pharma companies or CROs. And here in this slide, we can see some of the other leading contract research organizations and biopharmaceutical companies that actually employ people who have studied at the Parexel Academy and who actually benefit from this knowledge that we are producing here at the Academy. So this is also a good idea if you're thinking about entering in this area, that you can see that of course your possibilities are not only with Parexel. There's a lot of companies out there who are currently and always looking for people, for qualified people to work in clinical research. And here at the Parexel Academy, our study or program portfolio is very wide. So we have a lot of courses of programs that we offer, and I'm just going to quickly talk about some of these programs here. The most established one is our 6-month German language postgraduate course, which was originally set up to help life sciences graduate make the switch from science to industry. So that's what we call the Weiterbildung. Here's the one that you can see with the orange image here. And Parexel also offers Europe-only undergraduate degree in clinical research. So it's a Bachelor of Science in Clinical Research, and this program is conducted in partnership with the Medical School Berlin. Apart from that, the Academy has also developed partnerships with universities in the United States and in Asia, for example in Singapore, to deliver programs in other continents. Besides this undergraduate and postgraduate courses, we also provide training to investigators and study nurses in good clinical practice in many different countries in Europe and Asia. So this courses qualify people to work directly in the study sites. And of course, we have the program that you probably want to hear about. That is our postgraduate program, postgraduate certificate in clinical trial management. This is actually an adapted version of the German language postgraduate program that we had, which has been successful for many years now. And about 3 years ago, Parexel, the Academy decided to make an English language program that would be also part-time. And that's the result. That's the certificate in clinical trial management. So this program here, we can see some of the main features now of the program of this slide. And this program has a duration of 5 months. So the next course starts on September 18th, and it's going to end in February, on the 19th of February of 2018. The program fee is €6,100, and that amount can be paid in a single installment or in 6 times, which is very convenient. So you would have then 1 invoice per module during the program, so that makes it a bit lighter in your pocket. And as you can see here on the screen, the program consists of 6 modules, and we're going to talk in detail about each one of these modules in a minute. And what is very important, the language of instruction is English, so this program is completely in English. And it is also a blended learning format, which means it is a mix of online and face-to-face training sessions. The program is focused particularly on applicants from Europe. And the only reason for that is because you need to be physically present in Germany, in Berlin, for one long weekend for each module. So that means if you are based in the United States or in Asia, that might be a little bit tricky, as you would have to travel every 3-4 weeks to Berlin for the live sessions. So that is the reason why we really focus on participants that are living in Europe at the moment. And what is also important is that besides being a blended learning format, it's also a part-time program. So the live sessions have always been scheduled on the weekends because that can allow people who are already working or who have a professional commitments that they can do both things at once. They can still keep up their job and come to the academy on the weekends and take the course. And our partner for this program is an institution called TÜV Rheinland, which is an international provider of training, consulting, and certification services. Now that we know a little bit more about the program, I would like to jump to our trainers, or your trainers if you join the program. This is a very important topic, and I always say that this is the key strength of this program. All of the trainers teaching the program have extensive industry experience and in most cases over a decade of experience in teaching, whether in university or in industry training roles. Many of the trainers still maintain their activities in clinical research at Parexel International, which is really a great experience for the students because it means that the trainers provide them with up-to-date and hands-on knowledge from the field. So that means that your training sessions are really filled with concrete real-life examples and a lot of actual information about what is done in clinical research and the daily work on the field. So I like to stress that this is a unique feature of the program that's offered here at the Academy, and that's exactly one of the main differences from the Academy and other programs offered by universities or other training institutions, where you receive most of the knowledge from academics. And here at the Parexel Academy, these are people with practical experience who are currently working in clinical research. So that means that they're going to be doing their work, and then on the weekend they can tell you concrete examples. Well, this week this and this situation happened and this is how I handle it. So it's really this real life examples and case studies that is really, it's a huge benefit for the program participants. And that's also what we hear from every former participant from the course. Is always the highlight of the course is our trainers, because they're so well qualified and they have all this practical experience that an academic would not have. So it's really a plus from the program. And as I said, we're going to cover a little bit of each module here, and that's when we're going to start then. We'll move on to talk a little bit about Module 1, which is called Regulatory Affairs. This module is, it might sound a bit boring, but it isn't, I promise you. It's quite interesting, and it will give you a very good understanding of the overall legal framework of clinical research. So you're going to be talking a little bit about the history of clinical research so that you can understand what was set up and then why the studies were set up the way they are. And also an overview about the current status of medicinal product regulations and laws, and also the needs for ethics, which is very important in this field. This course takes an in-depth look at regulatory processes currently in operation in different areas. So for example, the United States, some European countries, and some Asian countries as well. We're going to be learning through the example of relevant codes and declaration, including some key documents here. For example, the Code of Nuremberg, the Declaration of Helsinki, and the Good Clinical Practice, and the International Conference on Harmonization, which are key documents in clinical research. You're also going to learn a bit more about approval and informed consent process, and audits and inspections as well. And of course, you're going to review some essential documents and learn local regulatory requirements for the preparation, packaging, labeling, and storage of clinical trial drugs. The lecturer for this training is called Bettina Merz-Niederröst. She's one of our most solid trainers, so she always receives outstanding evaluations from our participants, and I can guarantee 100% that you will learn a lot from her. She makes all this dry subjects, when you think about laws and regulations, as I said, it might sound a bit boring, but she makes it all very easy to understand, and actually she makes it actually very interesting. So she always receives great reviews from the participants, and she's also one of the highlights of our program. And then Module 2 this time is called Conducting Clinical Trials. It is probably an area of large interest for many of you because it focuses on the work of a clinical research associate, or a CRA, who acts as a link between the pharmaceutical company sponsoring the trial and the clinical site. So for example, the clinics or hospitals where the trials are being conducted. The CRA plays an essential role in the studies and ensures that the clinical trials are performed according to protocol and international guidelines. And frequently the figure of the CRA is what people associate with clinical research when they think about it. So it's a very important module as well. It's going to cover some key aspects of clinical research, such as the design of the protocol and the case report form, the informed consent process, but also you're going to learn about monitoring plans, monitoring visits, and how to handle some key documents. So for example, how to compile a trial master file, carry out source data verification. And what's interesting about this module is that it also has a lot of practical exercises. So we always see the students are quite active and there's a lot of interaction. So it should be quite fun. And the trainer is Stefan Goeditz, who is himself a graduate of the Parexel Academy. So he studied with us, I think, 7 or 8 years ago, and now he's one of our trainers. He still works here at the company as a CRA, and he takes on some of the classes that we teach here. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this module with him, and he also receives very good comments from our students. Module 3 is called Drug Development. And of course, as the name says, it focuses on the drug development process from the discovery of the drug until the market approval and beyond. It covers all relevant aspects of pharmacology. It also talks a little bit about the history of drug development, the discovery and selection of compounds for human investigation, and the paradigm shift from a random search to a rational approach, which is what we use at the moment with clinical research. You're going to be learning about the requirements of preclinical development, drug interactions, and of course the phases of the clinical development from 1 to 4, which is the same phases that I've just briefly touched on. So you're going to learn that in depth. And then, of course, you're going to learn a lot of technical things about pharmacology and also the absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion of drugs, and in different selected therapeutic areas. So, for example, cardio, neuro, chronic inflammation, and of course, oncology, which is a huge area in clinical research. And you're also going to be learning about bioequivalence, formulation, and instability testing, and a proof of concept to post-marketing surveillance. In charge of this module is Dr. Matthias Kaufman, who is nothing less than our Vice President and Principal Consultant Early Phase. So it's a big name in the company, and it's needless to say that he has a huge amount of experience, and you're definitely going to benefit a lot from it. He's someone who knows a lot about clinical research, and it's definitely a lot of relevant information for your qualification. The next module coming up is site management. So in this module, we're going to continue to learn about the practical work of a clinical research associate. So it has a lot to do with the module 2 of the program. Except that this time you're going to be familiarized with some other documents, and also with other processes. So for example, quality assurance aspects and good clinical practice compliance, safety reporting requirements, And there's also a lot about patient safety. So for example, adverse events, serious adverse events, and reporting requirements. So that's all going to be covered in this module. And you're also going to hopefully understand the importance of drug accountability, report writing, quality control, and quality assurance. And finally, you're also going to learn about audits and the fundamentals of Food and Drug Administration laws and inspections. Your trainer is called Claudia Richter, and she's one of our trainers with the most valuable practical experience in the field. She is currently working as a CRA at Parexel, and so you definitely learn a lot about the day-to-day work in clinical research with her. She's someone who's always on the go and always traveling from site to site, so she has a lot of practical experience to share with the course participants. The data management module, then, on the other hand, goes through a completely different topic, and it approaches the various tasks of a clinical data manager. And it's also a very important theme because it's central in ensuring that the clinical trial data is collected, validated, and processed in the correct way according to protocol and international guidelines. So in this module, you're going to learn how to plan, prepare, and conduct data collection and validation, how to handle data inconsistencies, how to track and document data changes, and of course all of this to ensure the quality of the clinical database. So this module is going to give you a good insight into this general principles of clinical data management, and it's going to cover key elements of some of these processes. So for example, the case report form design, data management softwares, and medical coding, including exploration of regulatory requirements. So it's a lot about systems, but it's also a very important part of clinical research. And your lecturer is called Marc Labeni, and he has a vast experience in clinical research and information science, as you can see in this slide. So that's a perfect fit for this module. And what I like the most about Marc's module is that there's a lot of people who come to the course and they want to become a clinical research associate, or they want to work with drug safety. They already have in mind what they want to do. And then after they go through Marc's module, they come to me and say, oh, you know what, actually the data management module was really interesting, and I think this could be a career path for me. So that's what I like the most, is that in Module 5, a lot of people change their minds and realize that data management is also a good career path and can also be really interesting. So I think that's the magic that happens in this module. And then finally, we have clinical logistics. It's the last module of the program, and it focuses on the planning and execution of clinical trial materials management and logistics services. So in this weekend, you're going to be learning about global supply chain, planning, forecasting, organization, and distribution of medicinal products, study documents, medical diagnostic and technical equipment, and of course, managing logistics for laboratory samples and data. You're also going to learn some project management tools for clinical logistics, which is supposed to be quite interesting. And you're also going to learn about the requirements to handle study medication and regulations regarding the transport of body fluids for safety or efficacy testing. The trainer for this module is Pia Schmidt. She's another one of the Parexel Academy graduates. So she also took the German language course a few years ago and got a job at Parexel. So she's still working up to date as a portfolio operations leader. And she is currently working in the field. So of course, she's another one of those trainers is going to have a lot of practical experience to give to the participants. And she just started teaching in this program actually in the last course, and we received great reviews from the participants. So everyone said she's a keeper for the program. So I'm sure you definitely enjoyed the module with her. And well, after getting to know a bit about the trainers and the contents, I would like to show you now a little bit more about the program structure, because sometimes this is a little bit difficult to understand. There's so many components in the program. So this slide is an attempt to make it easier to understand. what are all the components that this course entails. And here we can see we have different types of activities. So we have the online part, that's the online learning, which is available for usually 2 weeks in each module. And this is a part that you can do at your own time. So if you want to take all the activities and the readings at once on the weekend, you can do that and then just lock yourself at home and do all the studying. But also if you're working or if you have a family and you just want to do a little bit every day, do 1 hour every evening after work, that's also a possibility. So there's no really set times for that. So you do this online part at your own pace according to your own schedule. And this online part entails also an online assessment, which is available for a few days before each live session. And this is a very short, it's not even a test, it's really an assessment. Just a few questions like a quiz that you have to take, just to make sure you understood the contents that were taught online. And it also serves as a preparation for the trainers. So the trainers can identify what were the weaker points of the group and what should be emphasized then in the live session. Then finally, we have the face-to-face training, and that goes from Friday through Sunday in Berlin, Germany. So that's very important to emphasize. Unfortunately, this cannot be replaced by online training or anything else. You have to be physically in Berlin for a long weekend every module, once every module. And this is also one of the most important parts of the training, because as I've been emphasizing, the trainers are really what makes difference in this program. And this is exactly the occasion where you're going to have the opportunity to interact with them and to learn from them. So that's really what makes up the program, or the live sessions. And then, of course, for every module, you're going to have an examination. These exams, they're a written examination. They may take up in different forms, but it's always a written examination that you have to take for each module. And these are always done on Friday mornings before the live session of the next module. And then for the last module, for the 6th module, it's also done on a Monday after the training. So it sounds a bit complicated, but it's, we'll try to explain it like this. So you come to the academy for the 1st module, and then when you come to the academy again next month for the 2nd module, before you get started with the 2nd module on Friday morning, you have to do this exam regarding module 1 that you took last month. So this is how we have been structuring the course, and it seems to be a good solution to take these exams. And here we can see that each module comprises then around 12 hours of online training. This, of course, is an estimate. Some people take longer, some people take less, but this is usually what we say the workload is around 12 hours. And then 1 online assessment that should take no longer than 30 minutes. Then you have 3 days of training in Berlin and 1 written examination in Berlin at the end of each module. And here the next slide, I'm not going to go into detail because we're already running a bit out of time. This is the next calendar, the next schedule for the next program. You can download this on our website, or if you want, you can just write me an email. I'll be happy to send it to you per email as well. What is important here, the dates, is that we begin on the 18th of September, so in about 10 days, a bit over 10 days, with the online part, and that starts with the regulatory affairs module. So you get started on the 18th of September. You're going to have a couple of weeks for the online learning, and then your first time in Berlin for the live session would be on the 6th of October. And then the exam for this module you would be taking only in the next live session. So here you can see the calendar. As we can see, it's around 5 months from beginning to end of the program. And it corresponds to around 3 weeks to complete each module. So here we can see in the screen how this is scheduled, but it's also something that you can have a look in detail then through our website. And if you still are confused, I hope not, but if you still are confused, in this slide we try to break it down for you what each module entails. So module 1 each one of the modules has this online part, and then the online assessment, then the live session, and then starting on module 2, you also always have this exam. No, that's the last, that's the little box in the bottom of each one of those schemes. So you'd have that in modules 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in module 6, you would have then 2 exams. The exam from the last module, from module 5, and then on a Monday after training, so you have to stay 1 extra day here in Berlin, you would have the last examination. And yeah, well, it's been a lot of information, I imagine. I hope I'm not boring you. But just to recap, and we're already going towards the end of our presentation, so I have only a couple of slides more. And here is really a summary of the benefits that I think the program can bring you. And I would like to, I think I have highlighted them already during my presentation, but just I want to here make it something more concise. And we have highlighted here 6 points. And the first point would be that you're going to be studying, if you join the program, you're going to be studying at a very established training organization, very renowned in the industry of clinical research. And the Parexel Academy is not only recognized here in Berlin, in Germany, within Parexel, it's a name that is recognized also by other CROs in other countries. And not only Parexel as a company is very well renowned, but also the Parexel Academy has already become in itself a recognized training institution in the business, in the industry. The point 2 is that you're also going to have the opportunity to build up personal networks with professionals from several different countries in Europe. So we do have an alumni network, and each time that we start a new course, we see how international the groups are. So that means that you're going to have the ability to network with people from different countries, from different backgrounds, and not to mention that most of the course participants are very highly qualified scientists and academics, many of them with PhD degrees or at least a master's degree, who already have a very international background, very professional experience. So of course that contributes to the level of the discussion in the classes, and also from a personal point of view is a good moment to network with different people, maybe even make some friends, or at least hook up this professional contacts that you can use in the future. And of course, I've said enough, I think, the quality of our trainers. That would be the next point that I would like to emphasize. Our lecturers are industry experts, they're leaders in their field, they have up-to-date information, practical experience, so I cannot stress anymore how qualified they are and how that actually makes a huge difference when you're taking this program compared to a program that you could take in a university, for example. So it's a huge difference. The 4th point is the content, which of course you have the inside information from the trainers, so all the content is elaborated by our trainers. So it means that you're going to have the inside information about how the clinical trials are set up and developed. And also the content is designed for direct entry into the industry. And the way the course is designed with the 6 modules is precisely because these are the main areas where jobs exist in the industry. So the whole content has been already designed to make this switch from academia into industry a little bit faster. And then of course the format, because it is part-time, so that means it's flexible and you can do the online part from home according to your schedule. Also, if you're already working at the moment, if you have a job, that means you do not have to give up on that. You can keep your job and continue to develop your career by taking this course. And the last point is what we call the graduate placement process. So this is a big word, but it means that the participants have a preferred candidate status when they look for a job with Parexel, and all participants receive screening interviews with our talent acquisition department at the end of the course. So that means that they all have the chance, all participants have the chance to talk to our recruiters and try to sell themselves. And if there is a matching position open, of course, that would be already a foot in the door for the participants. And of course, I always like to stress as well that there's no guarantee here when you talk about jobs. The market is the market, and it is unfortunately completely out of my hands. If I could, I would give a job to each one of my course participants, but unfortunately that's not how it works. So it's very important that you have that in mind. The course is a support tool that you can have when trying to enter into industry. There's no guarantee that there's going to be a job waiting for you, unfortunately. And there's also no guarantee they're going to be taken by Parexel. And we have been seeing lately that a lot of our participants actually find jobs elsewhere, not in Parexel. So it's good also that people already know from the beginning that taking this course does not equal of finding a job. But what it does do, it opens the doors to you in this industry, and it helps you perform better in job interviews because you know what you're talking about and you know the knowledge, you know how a clinical trial is set up. What it does help is that it already puts you in connection, for example, with the recruiters here, the company. What we do offer as well is some, not a career coaching, but we do offer that we can help you with your CVs, with your applications for jobs. So we try to give you all the support that we can so you can walk with your own legs and try to find a job. But it's important that people are aware that it does not mean that you will immediately find a job after taking this course. But I do think it will increase your chances, and that's what all of our participants have been affirming in the last years. And that leads me to my next slide, which is exactly about a career in clinical research. And here in this slide, we consider many options for this field. So we have up to 60 different positions that work in one single study at the different phases. And of course, one of the most popular positions is the clinical research associate, but the program also opens the door to many other jobs. And as I said, some take the course and say, wow, I'm really into data management, or I want to go into logistics. So it's actually really interesting how you see participants really finding themselves professionally during the course and really becoming more aware of which area they want to go to. And as I already mentioned, also the advantage is that the modules of the program have been designed exactly to encompass all these areas where most jobs are given in the industry. So with that, we really try to maximize the learning of the participants in these areas so that you can build on it to take the next step and find a job in the industry. All right, I think I am done with all my contents. So now what we have here on the screen is, of course, the application requirements. So you have been hearing for quite some time already me talking here, and now we can go to business. Now that we're all flooded with information, we can talk about the application procedures. And it's very straightforward. So to be eligible for this program, you need to have at least a bachelor degree in life sciences. So that could be pharmacy, biology, chemistry, anything life sciences related. And your English skills need to be, of course, at advanced level because all the activities are going to be conducted in English. You can submit your application online through our website, and the process is really easy. All you have to do is fill out an application form and attach your CV, an updated CV in English, to this form and send it through the website. We receive your application, and once we have reviewed the documents, if the requirements are filled, we're going to get back to you as soon as possible to schedule a phone interview so that we can get to know you a little better and assess your suitability for the program. As we're probably already a bit running out of time for the applications, I would say if you're interested, just submit your documents as soon as you can because we still have a few days here to process the documents and conduct a phone interview with you. And yeah, well, we made it to the end. So now I would like to open to a Q&A if you still have the time and patience to be here. So I'm available to answer any questions you might have about the program, about the application procedures. And we do not have much time, but we can stay here for 5-10 minutes. So you can send your questions via the chat tool, as I said in the beginning of the presentation. And if I cannot manage to answer your question today, then I will be sure that this information is stored, and I will send you an email with the answer in the next couple of days. And I would also, while you're typing your question, hopefully I'll also like to remember that we have a lot of information in our website. And we also have a really cool video testimonial that we made with one of our former participants, so we can understand a little bit better what drives people to look for such a career in clinical research, and also what he learned from the course and how it helped him to find a job in the area. So that's something that would be good to watch. And we also have a very extensive FAQ session where a lot is answered. And of course, if you have any questions, just email me or give us a call. We will be ready to assist you with whatever you need. So I would already thank you for being here tonight and for being interested in the program. And I think I would ask my colleagues who are helping me with the technical part here if we have any questions from our audience. And then, okay, so we have some questions coming. So I will be waiting here, give it a couple minutes until we can collect the questions and move forward. So the first question I have, if I already know the date of the next course. Unfortunately, the date of the 2018 courses have not been defined yet, but judging from experience in previous planning, it should be in April and then most likely September or October. So we always plan to offer the course twice a year. And the first one has always been in April, so I don't think there would be any changes with that. So it would be April 2018. And then most likely September or October. Also, I didn't mention the application deadline. Of course, as I said, we're ready a little bit right on the date here, right on the spot, but we would be receiving applications until the 11th or 12th of September. Okay, I think, I'm not sure if there are more questions coming up. If not, for those of you who already have to get disconnected, I would already thank you for your participation. While we wait a couple minutes more to see if anything comes up. But if you have to get disconnected, yeah, I've just got the information so far. We don't have any other questions from participants. So I would like to thank you very much for getting connected here and taking the time. And I hope this helped you to understand the program a bit better, and it made it a bit clearer what it is actually that we offer and what are your possibilities when taking this program. And as I said, if you have any questions, if anything occurs to you, just send us an email. We'll be ready to answer you. And I have here another question. Yeah, and is someone, I'm sorry, I was just reading the question. It is someone who lives in Berlin and have B2 German level and would like possibly to enroll in the German program. That's the full-time program. For the German program, the experience is as it usually requires C1 level. but we have already had people with B2 that were able to follow the program with no problem. So it really depends on in each one. In that case, I would suggest that you send also your application through our website. So you can send the application in German. It's a CV, but it has to be completely in German. And then we have a look at it, and your profile matches or is a good fit for the program, that would probably contact you and maybe conduct a short German interview, just to reassure that the German, the language will not be an issue for you to follow the program. But so just go ahead and send the application on our website as well. Okay, I think I have no more questions then. Yeah, so again, thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant evening, and don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. If you need more information about the program, just shoot us an email. And I do hope to see some applications coming through in the next couple of days. And thank you again for getting connected tonight. Bye.